Could that possibly be the first ever perfectly timed introduction to one of these things? It could well be. Did I not turn on enough lights? Probably. Did I forget to press the play button on the music after I specifically switched it to YouTube Save Songs to make sure that the VOD doesn't get dinged and they don't take my precious, precious no monetization? Gotta click the button. I'll be with you in just a sec. Yacht Rock. Should we pick Yacht Rock? No, we're not going to pick Yacht Rock, and we're not going to pick Country. We're going to do the tried and true. I pre-rim shotted that one, Nala. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are back for some more Sublime Text Live coding off the clock plugin work on our enhanced snippets package. This should have been a stream yesterday, but yesterday I unfortunately had something that I needed to do in the evening that interfered with the time period within which I normally tend to stream. So we pushed it off until today, which means I'm streaming today here on YouTube, and then I'm streaming tomorrow on Twitch, and Friday on Twitch as well. Isn't that exciting? And then, all next week, I am on vacation. So who knows what might happen? I can't remember if we have any actual plans. There could be daytime streams all over the show. On YouTube, on Twitch, everywhere. Maybe nighttime streams. Maybe I'll just play Minecraft. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see because I don't know exactly what my wife had planned. But I know what we have planned for tonight, and that is trying to remember what it was that we were doing with this last change that is not committed in my repository, and then cleaning up our code just a little bit because we have not the greatest set of stuff here in the world. If you remember, if you were working along with us in this project since the very beginning, then you'll know that we started off with a simple one file plugin that was a Python file just to see is what we're trying to do something that might actually work. And it did. And from there, we've slowly grown it out and expanded it. We take the proof of concept to full and final release. This is what we're doing here. And we're doing pretty good. Last stream, we finalized some of our SnippetManager class, which is a class that we created, which needs to be able to know about every snippet that we have loaded, know what package it's in, know it by resource name, and know it by scope, so that we can discard all snippets in a particular package if we need to do such a thing, or discard all snippets, or more importantly, figure out which ones are something that we actually care about for a particular scope. And we also need to know the resource names for these things because we have the ability, or we're going to add the ability at some point, to utilize Sublime's ability to have the new setting in Sublime Text 4 for our masking particular package snippets from appearing in autocomplete, so that you can make an enhanced snippet, and when our package discovers that there's a snippet that it can do something with, that has an enhanced field that can do something with, that it can automatically update that setting to include that snippet, so that Sublime doesn't include it in its normal autocomplete, and instead you only see it in our autocomplete. It's kind of the deal that we have going on right now. So I think everything is up to snuff and up to par. I've clicked an appropriate number of things. We have music. Presumably everybody can hear me because no one's saying anything. How dim do I look? Also, this is my first YouTube stream since new glasses. I'm 155% more nerdy than I was previously. And Nala says, I watched a girl get her nose pierced at a bar last night. In other news, I found out I was bad at darts. I have something for that too. Not everything is a rim shot, my friend. Not everything is a rim shot. In any case, let's jump on in to the coding fun and see what it is that we're actually working on here, because I'm not entirely sure I recall why I have this change here. Helps to push the button. There we go. I pushed it. I didn't push it hard enough. So, one of the things that we did last stream was implement our initial SnippetManager class. We cleaned up a bunch of stuff in this class. We fixed all of the discard code. But what we do still have... Oh, we never actually committed this. Oh. All right. Hang on. I see what you did there. All right. Please, so much applause. No applause, just throw money. We wrote all of this stuff last stream, but what we didn't do was actually commit it anywhere. So I think that's why we still got this here. There's probably some logging in here that we don't directly need. But the thing that we were working on in that particular stream is this task here, which is that the SnippetManager class does not discard properly. It's being created. It doesn't currently support all the required discard options, so the only way to clear an item from the list is to clear everything and fully rescan. And now, this has been somewhat addressed by new changes, which use a single private helper to remove a list of 0 or more snippets that is capable of removing a snippet based on its resource name from all the other lists. So if we went over that really quickly to remind both you and I what actually happened here, we have a simple filter helper function, which doesn't need to be a helper now that we've actually tightened it up as much as it is. All the places where this is used could conceivably be inline, but the reason it's not is because we're using it in more than one place. And that means that duplicated code. So we've sort of boosted it out. We could also have defined this function inside of discard all locally instead of being up here. But honestly, that sort of thing I find tends to make the code less readable than more readable, despite the fact that it does in fact bundle everything up into one thing. I can see the appeal of that, but on the whole, not a super fan. So what we have is the ability to discard all snippets, which is pretty simplistic because all we got to do is reset all of our lists. Now, if we remember here, there's 3 different ways that we track any given snippet. One of them is by a key in this object where the resource name of the snippet represents the key in the object, and the value in that thing is the actual snippet object, if you will, which for us is actually just a named tuple that contains all of the parsed snippet information that we need to inject the thing into the auto-completion system. Here we have a list that's keyed on the name of package. Think user for your user package, Python for Python snippets that are in the Python package, and so on and so on. In that table, the key is the package, and the value is a list of all of the snippet objects that exist inside of that package. That way, if we want to know which snippets come from the user package, boom, see them all, easy peasy. And lastly, and most importantly, the scope list one. This is an object where the keys are the actual scopes as defined inside of any snippet files that are read. So if multiple snippets are read that are source.python, there's one entry in the table that's source.python, whose value is an array with all of those snippets in it, the snippet objects, if you will. If there's only one for source.python and there's one for source.c, then there are 2 entries in the list, one for each scope. This is the thing that's actually used at runtime to inject these snippets into the editor, because the auto-completion system gives you the scope of the current text, so you can find the scope of the current text, and we find all of the snippets that apply for the current situation. And those are the ones that we know to add to the auto-completion list. The important thing for us is anytime we add any snippet into the system, it needs to be added in here so we can look it up by its resource. We need to add it also to here to add it to its particular package, and we have to add it to here for its scope. And for snippets that don't have a scope, there's an entry where the string is just an empty string, which is an empty scope selector, which matches everything. So all unscoped snippets will always be lumped up, which is interesting because that means they all apply at the same time, which is what you would actually expect, right? So working from the perspective of those are the different ways we need to track one of these things, and we need to make sure when we add one, we update all of the lists, and when we remove one, we update all of the lists. what we came up with is a helper that allows you to discard a list of snippets. And for that, what we do is find, given a list of snippet resource file names, scoot through all of them to find all of the ones that appear in the list of snippet resources that we know we've loaded. And for each one of those, we need to discard things. So what we're doing here is capturing out, just for the sake of easier to read code, an alias for the resource name, which is the full package resource, like packages/user/snippet/something cool.sublimesnippet. The package that it's in, say user in that particular example, and scope, say source.python, because we're going to need those in a few different places. And what we do is say, if you were to look in this list of items based on this scope that we were given, return back only those items that don't include this resource, and it'll scoot through all of them and return back a brand new list. And it will do the same thing for a package as well. That's what this filter is doing. It's taking the list of items and filtering it for all items whose resource isn't the one that's passed in. That allows us to, given a list of things, easily clean it out of multiple places at the same time. And then once we've done that, if that list ends up being empty, we don't need those keys for either the scope or the package, which are two distinct operations, and then we can just remove the resource from the list. To discard a single snippet, we just invoke the discard snippet list and give it a list of a single snippet. You know, that's the magic of doing those sorts of refactorings, right? This one thing can take any list of resource names and make sure that any which way that we store these things, that those resources aren't tracked anywhere. And since the actual snippet objects are tuples, you know, when you remove it from one, you remove it from all of them because of the way that we're creating them. So everything will work out super cool. And then if we want to discard by package, all we got to do is get the list of items based on the package name we were provided, passing in an empty list if there isn't any such thing, and get it to discard those. Discarding by scope, discarding by snippet. Sorry, this one's discarding by resource name, this one's discarding by scope, and this one's discarding by package, and that is these lists. Resource name, scope, package. They're not in the same order, but you know, what can you do? It's probably going to bother me later. If we wanted to add a snippet, we would need to have an actual snippet object, for which we add it as a resource and we add it to the list of items for the scope and the package. And our magical get list function here basically is another tiny little helper that grabs out of a dictionary an array if it's not based on the key. If you will, what this is kind of like a dictionary.get that assumes a dictionary, assumes the key has a value of array or a list, if you will. And if a key doesn't exist, then an empty list is returned and the dictionary is updated. So calling this always returns a list, even if it's a brand new empty one, and the thing is all updated on the fly. Makes this super duper easy as we are adding snippets. So we get the list for the scopes and append that item in. In the list of scopes, find the list that matches the scope of this snippet and then add that snippet to it. So that's an empty list. There's one thing in it now, and ditto for package. Now here's where we're starting to get into the interesting stuff. We never really touched this too much, but in order to know what snippets exist, we can call this scan snippets helper. This is a private method on this particular class, whose job it is to find all of the Sublime snippet files that exist all over everywhere. And for each one, if it starts with the prefix that was provided, so that'll be empty, which means it loads everything, or you can get it to load items for a specific package by passing in an appropriate prefix, like packages/user or whatever. Load snippet is another little thing that's in here, which does the work of actually opening up the Sublime snippet resource, parsing it as XML, grabbing out all of the important fields, which are things like the description, if there is one, the tab trigger, if there is one, the scope, the actual content of the snippet as a whole, and a couple of other key pieces of information like the resource and the package all get plunked in. This returns either none or a snippet object. And when would it return none? We really only care about snippets that we are enhancing. So a part of that load operation is examining the content of the snippet to see, does this snippet contain any of the custom variables that the package knows how to expand? And if the answer to that question is no, then this returns none. It doesn't do anything because you don't need to do anything special for that snippet. Sublime can already handle that one. The whole point of this is you can define your own snippet fields like date or username or something, and those are the kind that we need to actually use the plugin to expand out, right? If it's found, we use the helper to add it, which makes sure it adds everywhere. So as a scan of all snippets, it discards everything and scans all snippets. And if we wanted to scan a particular package, we can discard only those items from a particular package and then scan that particular package. This is used during the actual runtime of this operation. The event handler that we have for on-query completions calls this to say, the scope selector at the current point is this. What snippets apply? And this returns a list of all of them, which might be empty, or it could have one or more snippets, and any of those are added to the completion list. And this is one of those fun things. Sublime provides us a lot of the functionality we need for this right out of the box, so we really are just sticking some pieces together here, realistically, right? Because one of the things that we want to know is, this particular snippet scope is source Python, meta statement, conditional if, meta function call, blah, 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 blah. And the snippet has variable in it. How do we figure out if this scope matches variable? Because remember, scope selectors are kind of like CSS selectors, right? They can include specificity by providing more than one term. Each term can have the dotted parts. So not only can you find all source files, you can find all source Python files. There's a little bit of hierarchical information that's in here because you could trigger on variables that are only inside of conditional ifs. If you really wanted to make a snippet that only expands inside of an if statement, you could make sure that the source.python's in there if you only want that to happen inside of a Python file, etc. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Do you want to implement that yourself? No. Fortunately, Sublime provides several functions for us. Score selector is one that takes a scope and takes a selector and tells you how well it matches. 0 means no match. Any number that's non-zero means a match. And when it comes to scoring a selector, the score value actually goes up depending on how many things match. So if it allows you to do a test for these sorts of things and then say, based on these two things, this one matches better, let's use this one. In our case, we just need to know if it matches at all. Hence, if score selector is non-zero, it does the thing. Here's another use for that, which is match view. Given a view and a list of locations, return back all snippets that match the scope in the current view at the given locations. This list could be empty. And in order to be returned back, the scope must match all of the positions in the location list. Now remember that when you're doing autocomplete, there could be a single snippet, a single point. There could be two. There could be many, right? The scope of each one of these cursors is conceivably different. These two are in comments, for example, and this one's not. So the magic of this is it has to make sure that the scope that is in the list of items applies at every single location, because you don't want to have a cursor here, a cursor here, a cursor here, hit this and have a snippet that should only expand inside of comments, because this selection down here ain't in a comment. It's going to make somebody unhappy. They'll come at you with a sack of oranges. It's a bad deal. Cop pulled me over. Your license says you wear glasses. Where the hell are your glasses? I said, officer, I have contacts. Cop got pissed. He said, listen, buddy, I don't care who you know. That's one of these. Always and forever. This last one, very simplistically, find all the snippets that match a package. That's pretty easy. Look it up in the list. All packages matching a given resource specification. Also super easy. That's just a list. And here's the part where we actually load this bad boy up. Again, this is stuff that's sort of built into Sublime/Python. So load the resource. We're going to use this because this snippet resource could be inside of a package, or it could be a loose file on disk. That's going to give us our raw XML. We're going to convert that into an element tree using some stuff that's built directly into the Python libraries and that are embedded inside of Sublime. We can find the tab trigger, description, the content, and the scope and pull them out. If any one of them are not found, their value is none, so we make those be empty. I probably could have shortened that up a little bit, right? By saying root.find. Oh, I see, because this could be none. Yeah. I don't know that Python has a null coalescing operator, so that's probably not something that can be made super clean. Here's the bit where we say, given this content, and possibly also this trigger text, is this something that we can enhance? And the returned value from this is going to be a list of all of the different things that could expand variables out in this snippet if there's one or more, or an empty list if there are none. If there are none, we return none. Otherwise, we come up with the package name, we create our snippet object, if you will, and return. And there's our global snippet manager. So all in all, I'm happy with that as a change. So I think we're good to actually stage that up and commit it. And we just went over all of those changes. So we would say, actually, I think the reason I did that was because I haven't pushed this commit yet, and it contains the snippet manager. So I think what we're going to do is amend the previous commit in this particular case, because we want that to be finished. Whoops. So this is an implementation of our initial snippet manager class, which is responsible for loading, scanning, and searching the list of snippets that we are enhancing. In implementing this, we also fix the list of completion enhancement classes not being dynamic enough to replace classes if they're registered more than once, since automatic package reloader reloads files in a way that adds each item to the list many times. Yes, this is a whole thing. We're going to be looking at that in just a moment, but there are a set of classes whose job it is to slot themselves in as one of those completion classes things that says, I declare that I know how to expand $date if it happens to exist as a variable, and that allows us to actually trigger this stuff up. So let's save that particular message. Now, I'm happy with all of that as code, but there's still some stuff in here that is kind of janky, if you will. So that is not so interesting at the moment. And our utilities, I think there's some action that has to happen in here as well. Let's size this down. Everybody out there is watching. How has your Monday been? Nala, I have not seen you in forever. How the hell you doing, sir? You still in Alberta? Oops. Did I get nope, that's a frame drop. That is cool. All right. So, what? Wacky. Okay. Let's take a look at this utility. If we look in here, this is just things like our key bindings and main menu entries and stuff for the package. No big whoop. The commands that we implement, our actual enhancements, those are actually meant to be even cooler in our top level plugin. But what we're going to worry about is this. So Simple helper for logging. Adding an extension or adding an instance of the given class, which should be a subclass of the enhanced snippet base parents class, to the list snippet variable extension. We can actually make this smarter by making this be unhappy if that's not of the appropriate class. I think one of the things that we need is an actual class for this snippet extensions business. Because we have something to add, we have something to get, and I think the completions also do stuff with it. No? Why did we not yeah, I think all of these utils, because that's calling get snippet extensions, which is that, so 13 degrees there. Currently, over here, it's 53 degrees. You'll have to do the conversion. Were you in Alberta for a while, or am I completely doolally on the state of affairs of things? Because I could swear that you were like away for a while. I remember thinking I should ask you to grab me a handful of oil sands because gas prices are ridiculous. We probably could have renamed that file a little bit better too, huh? If this is the actual SnippetManager. Ah, cool. All right. This wasn't completely crazy. I mean, such as these things go. Should we rename this file name? Pardon me, I don't think we do. Yay, I'm winning. It's cooler here. I could have asked the chat. Every time I try to talk to my phone, it doesn't listen, but the Chromebook does. And we can get it to speak out loud. Since I haven't pushed that yet, was this a brand new file? Yes, it was. So here's what we're going to do. Let's do that. Verify that everything's still loaded okay. And we'll be able to tell, because if it did... Did we actually... Oh, I might have actually gotten rid of that snippet. Oh, nope. We screwed up other things. Sorry. Nope. Nope. Well, actually, can't I just do that? I can't because that's not actually exported, is it? Yeah, that's what I thought. I wonder why not. That just goes without saying. You missed the part of the Twitch stream the other day where we talked about my nice rack. Oh. Let's do that. Let's presume that we actually need is that. because that's the only place that it's actually used. That doesn't care. Enhancements most certainly aren't going to care, one would imagine. So let's see. I like to do this thing where I quit and restart Sublime to do that, because it makes for sure that there's nothing untoward going on. All right, what do we got going on now? Oh. Commands are doing it too. We just need that. Nothing a little quadruple nested plugin, quadruple nested relative import can't help, huh? That's looking more like something's doing something in a place for reasons. Whoops. That actually worked. It's expanding it out without asking. Oh, because that... Oh. Right. One of the things that was fixed in this version of Sublime, which is this development build that came out... Oh, it doesn't mention it here, huh? One of the things that was mentioned in one of the issues that were closed, but isn't mentioned in the changelog, I guess, is that if there's more than one, if there's only one snippet that matches, previously, it would still open up the auto completion pop-up. If there's really only one that matches, then it doesn't do that. So, not. Oh, sorry. This one is not special. And we'll save that as new latex. Oh wait, is that going to my user package? Yes, do latex document not special. .sublime snippet. And we'll bring that down here. If we do that and that, then from inside of here, now we can see there's this one. This one's not special. And this is one from the special snippet, which is enhanced, although it's kind of hard to tell it there. So we probably shouldn't have that text there, I would imagine. That is probably enough, because this is what Sublime is going to display for that in that case. So here we know this is a snippet enhanced. This is an enhanced snippet. You can see that we're integrating beautifully in here. The difference between these two things also being that that one's a snippet and that's a snippet enhanced. So that is cool. I think what we probably want to do, if that is the case, we don't need that. Oops. That's the one from the special snippet, and that one's not special. And we can tell which one is which because of the bloop. So I think that's probably a cooler way to go as far as all that stuff is concerned. So let's go ahead and tweak that up. So we changed the name of the file from manager to SnippetManager, instead of exporting the class, which frankly nobody cares, there's only one instance and it's the thing that's exported, and we snag it out, that file went away. But there's this other file that has similarly the exact same content, allowing us to notice that this is just a rename but nothing else changed. Here we needed to change the import. We don't need to import it from that because we exported from the init, right? So we can just grab the one thing out, and we don't do the enhanced thing there because that doesn't make a lot of sense. And we do the exact same thing there. So let's just go ahead and amend that. Now that's going to give us the power to close all of those files as if we never opened them. And then open the utilities, because ultimately that's not actually even used anymore. We may need to tweak that a little bit too. Yeah, forgot about that. All except for the log, all of these things are a class that manages extensions, and I think we have a to-do list item for that. An enhancement manager class that holds the list of enhancement classes. That's the thing that we're looking for. This is currently just a global array, but maybe we want to split that up a bit if for no other reason than the API would look nicer. This also needs to have some kind of callback system for other things to register to know when things change, like the snippet manager. What was I pondering there? At least the very first thing that we need to be concerned with here is actually having the enhancement manager class in place of all of this nonsense. Let's get rid of you. Let's get rid of you. And let's say that you are the file I want to have open. So we want to create a file here named enhancement manager.py, because why not have the world's longest file names, right? And then if that wasn't here and none of this was here, this would more or less be what we want to have in that file. That would actually be here. Enhancement manager. I really want to change the name of that now. But we're down the road now. We'll do a little something like that. I think the idea of the callback system is the snippet manager wants to be able to do something to the enhancement manager so that whenever a new enhancement happens, it knows to rescan all of the snippets after everything all gets rolling anyway. Would probably say something like whoops. Keeping track of the classes. So we're gonna have something like that. Okay, we don't want you. I'm not entirely sure what shape this should take just yet. If we were to add extension, get extensions, and that's going to be self.get extensions. If enhancer is applicable, and then the last thing we do. And the thing we called it was enhancements. So once we do that, theoretically that might work. Might work better if I put the correct characters in place. Now it's happy loading that, but it's only temporarily happy loading that because we boosted various symbols out of the place that they used to live, and that's not going to be kosher for anything that's happening here. We're going to be able to see all kinds of problems in here as we go. Can't import name. So wait, the snippet manager does that? I think that means that for you, from dot enhancements, from dot import that. Get completion class is still a thing that exists? Yes, but we call that in front of it. But we don't actually want that one. Now, what are we unhappy about here? Let's double check. With a clean symbol table, because renaming stuff tends to make the hot loader unhappy. Enhanced snippets, line 24. Imports enhanced snippet source init. Oh. That's this bad boy. At line 5. What are we unhappy about here? Can't import name. Source enhancements init.py. Oh. Right. What the hell do we want these for? Oh, because of that. Gotcha. From dot lib dot enhancement manager. Import enhancements. And then all the calls to add snippet extension should start with that. Essentially. Assuming that's what I named that. And it's not. Add extension is what it should be called. All right, how about that? Oh, shit. That's probably help it. Okay, hang on. Oh, whoops. We're looking at add extension is broken. I renamed the variable. I agree that enhanced snippet source has no attribute core, but where the hell did that come from? And why wasn't it a problem before? Well, that's cool. That's weird. Oh, because there actually is a file name core there. All right, so if that all works, then but it does not, because there's only one in there now and not two. So something we did corked that up, and I think it's because we didn't rename all of the stuff we needed to rename. So let's take a look. We said that along with the snippet manager, there should be something called the enhancement manager, and if we import the enhancements from it, we can export them out. That seems pretty safe. The snippet manager doesn't get completion classes from the enhancement manager. It gets enhancements, and there we can call get completion classes. And if we look over here, get completion classes is totally a thing that exists. So that's cool. All the stuff related to this in utils is gone, so that's cool. Instead of getting add snippet extension and get snippet extensions, and why were we importing get snippet extensions is the $10,000 question here, because I don't think we needed to. Certainly never used. We import those things, and enhancements, add extension, passing it the class. That seems like it's probably fairly safe. And here, the enhancements are set up as an empty list that adds it, that gets the values. So the real question is, what went wrong there that no longer works? Because that does seem pretty clear and clean here. Did that say that it was loading snippets? Adding snippet from packages, user, new latex document. So at some level, that is in fact doing what we want. Except that the snippet new latex document is this one, the clipboard and the date. Oh, are we all special now? All right. Oh, maybe I didn't fully reload stuff there. That's the not special one. And if you do that, now there's a couple. Which one do we want? The one from the special snippet. Whoops. End up with the default. That's actually text that's in the clipboard. So if I was to copy that and do that again, you get the text from the clipboard in there. That's one of the cool enhancements on that particular snippet. All right, so I think that's cool. Let's add this up. And for this one, we're going to say that one's done. So that particular thing has one subtask that is still to do. And if that would show it to us, that would be fantastic. Ooh, pardon me. Still got some time. That'll clean that up. So these enhancement classes here are the ones that are actually driving this. So the idea is I guess we could kind of add that in. We're going to have to think a little bit about exactly what sort of API we want around that, because the idea is that these particular enhancements here are ones that ship directly with this package, which is being able to insert text from the clipboard. So the variable named clipboard expands out to that, and the one named date expands out into a formatted date. But for the purposes of the little SnippetManager class thing there that we were just looking at, I lost track of it. Shoot. What file were we looking at when I started talking about that? This one here. In this particular case, those are built in, but the idea is that you as a user of Sublime or as a package author could include your own enhancements as part of your own package, import the appropriate thing from this package if it happens to exist to get the enhancement manager and make a call, and it'll add one extension in there. And anytime that happens, snippets need to be rescanned with a debounce so that if a bunch of them are added, it doesn't scan 10 times in a row. It waits like a couple of seconds afterwards and then does the scan, something like that. And anytime you add a class with the same name and override, then it does the scan again because maybe something about that class changed. Hello, Ashwin. What is the good word this fine morning? I'm being kind of slouchy here as I ponder my options. And realizing that I didn't turn on the thing that removes the shadow from my slouch face. I've also found that sitting farther away from the monitors really helps with these glasses. Being up close actually makes things worse instead of better. The magic of progressive lenses, don't you know? This is actually going pretty well. So we're going to say we're done one half of that and go ahead and commit this stuff up. So we added in a new thing that we are reloading when the library is reloaded. We import the enhancements and we spit it out. That is this class here, which allows you to add. I guess we should change the names of those things, huh? We'll do that in a second. We want to be able to, let's say we want to rename those to actually be cleverer than what they are. But add, get completion classes. Probably the wrong name for that as well at this late date, but we'll stage that file up there. So the utilities is a lot tighter now because all of the stuff related to that is gone. Now the utilities is currently just a simple log function, which is nice cleanup of things. And this changed a little bit because instead of getting the function that adds these things, we get the manage enhancements and throw those items in there. We could probably just call that add, couldn't we? I'm having a pretty good evening, all things considered, given that it's a Tuesday and I don't have any ice cream or pizza. It's still pretty cool nonetheless. That's the same sort of deal as that, right? Yeah. So let's say this management class is for keeping track of the registered enhancement classes that can be used to augment snippet variables. There we go. And typing in commit messages is never the most exciting thing in the world, I'm aware. But nevertheless, we're going to give a little bit of that. And then we can go back and clean this up a little bit, because anywhere we're seeing this should probably just be called add. You know? And anywhere we see this, which is really only inside here, should really be get. And anywhere we see this, how is this different from that one? That's a get all, I guess, is the situation. We might call this one something like that, maybe. See, we don't want to have this. We want the snippet manager to be able to tell the enhancements to tell it whenever that changes. But we don't want that to go the other way, because otherwise we'll end up with a circular dependency where the snippet manager wants to do something with the enhancement manager, and the enhancement manager wants to do something with the snippet manager, and then the world explodes in your face because you can't import a thing because it can't finish importing because it needs a circular dependency. Nobody cares about that sort of thing. That's just awful, awful stuff right there. So we're not going to worry about that per se for this particular purpose. But we are going to, I guess, test to make sure that that still works, because otherwise we're going to be unhappy. Yeah. And survey says all good. So we wanted to test that. Yep. Cool. Hey, neat. I copied that text. I quit. I restart. That text isn't on the clipboard anymore. That seems weird. Has that always been a thing? I don't know if that's always been a thing, but it seems a little weird. Alright, we're going to throw that into a little item here. We don't need to do anything more than just change the names of these things. So we're going to amend the previous commit for that one. Now let's also presume that we want a way for this. Oh, sorry. We want a way for the enhancements in it to invoke that at the point at which the package loads. Do we have a race condition here? Plugin loaded calls core loaded. Core loaded calls that. Right, so all of the plugin code loads, then the plugin host once everything is fully loaded, plugin loaded is invoked. This runs the command to refresh the cache, which throws away all of the stuff and brings it back. We don't no longer need to do that. We could actually do that directly instead of in response to a command. So that's nice. So the API that we want here, if we think about this, is we would want a way to have some sort of callback registration here so that you could say update on add. What does it take? Just like a function, a lambda that gets invoked. There's got to be a way to remove the thing out of there too, if that's what we want to do, right? And I don't know that we necessarily care about that one for the time being. We'll get there when we get to those features, so we're not going to worry about that for the time being, I don't think. So that's gonna finish us up for that one. Whoops. It's an in progress kind of thing. There's still one to do. Is there now? What are we missing here? Oh. That. There we go. Because clicking that was not necessarily doing what we wanted it to do. There we go. The API I need for this is not fleshed out yet, but we... The SnippetManager will use this to know that if a new think we're cool with that. Now, the real question is, can we add a new lane in here? I'm sorry, but parked needs to be yellow. And we need to actually show it here. Unless that didn't actually save. In which case we're probably going to be unhappy. I didn't click save, huh? We want that to be yellow. Save. There we go. Then we can park that one, because there's still more work to be done on it. It's just nothing that we can do right now, basically. So what's the next thing that we can pull out here? Those are more researchy type things, so that's less interesting. The code that registers enhancements should resend snippets. When the list of enhancements changes, either because a new item was added. Oh. This is actually closed in favor of the other thing because it's a subtask on this now. Can I get a link to that? No obvious thing, huh? Oh, here we go. Do that. Little something like that. Add the comment, mark it as done. Yeah, that one's done, done, done. Okay, so we don't even need to track that one at all. We don't want to add our snippets to the command palette, command variation on that. We don't want to check that out. When we oh, that's something we can actually implement smarter now. Our event listener here, check this out. This should be rooted in the packages folder. If the file name ends with Sublime Snippet and this is a resource, we should what that's telling us is that we need something in here for reloading a particular snippet by resource. I think we could do that. Because we would just need to call load snippet, right? So, whoops. We'd say, this can be used to both add a brand new snippet so if we're going to call this, then we need to say self dot discard snippet. Right? Now when we called the discard snippet to get rid of the other, oh, yeah. I guess we want that in there so we know what's actually happening, right? When we say we want to discard that snippet, we create a list with a single thing and call this. It'll only do something if this was resources in the resource list. So if this isn't anything that we've already loaded, nothing happens. If so, it does the stuff it needs to do to drop an item out. And then this would need to be a full resource. That really seems like we need some sort of wrapper, because now we're doing the same thing twice. And I'm presuming that this actually, yeah. On error it returns null, so that'll still do what we want. I would think that's probably cool for our purposes here. I don't like that those 3 lines and those 3 lines are the same. So I might actually do that. The parts that we care about are that. Whoops. Given a resource name of a snippet, try to load it. If that works and it's enhanced, add it. Otherwise, silently do nothing. That allows reload snippet to be self._ load and add the resource name instead of that. And you do that. And if we ever needed to, we can make that return a value as well. We want this down here, perhaps? Where's load snippet at? All the way down there. There. I'll just stick this down here, shall I? Well, not there, I guess. This is all a judgment call on which thing seems like it might be the most readable. But that allows us to say discard package, reload a snippet by discarding it, loading it, adding it. This one's here because scan is going to immediately invoke it, and they're very tightly coupled for knowing what's actually happening there, since this is actually the bulk of what actually is supposed to happen, and it is super internal. The thought also occurs that if that's gonna be called in a couple of places, isn't it? Yeah, so we can't just inline that or we'll be sad. That was the whole point of boosting that out in the first place. But now we can add a snippet. Now, how many times is this used? Only one? Is there any situation in which load snippet is used other than that? No. But load and add is used in a couple of places. So we might go ahead and name this. We could also try to inline this code in here or something, right? Because if it gets to here, instead of returning it, you could just do something with it. That perhaps makes the most sense, huh? Thinking more logically about what this is actually doing. How many other places is that used in here? Nowhere interesting, right? If we were to copy that and paste it here, then we know that that's the package name. This is the snippet. This isn't JavaScript. Link the snippet. That'll tighten that up nicely, one would imagine, because now you can just call load snippet, and load snippet will try to load it, and if it works, add it. And everywhere that load and add is called, we could just call load snippet like that. Then we made that unhappy, didn't we? We don't need you. So our full change in this particular file after some refactoring is that if we want to reload a snippet, we can discard a snippet and then just invoke load snippet. And here when we scan snippets for each one, we call load. Load implicitly does the job of inserting things into the tables if we need such a thing. And that's it. we modify the actual load snippet functionality. So before it returns the snippet, it links it in. So oh shoot, I boned that one up. We changed, that should be entry in that particular case. And enhanced snippets added snippet from bloop. Let's change this while we're at it. And what if we also did this? So we already have that. We just need this to say discarding that. So when this loads, enhance snippet discards all snippets and adds that. And if we were to do the, it does the same sort of deal as that. All right, so like that, this should still work. Boop. There's our clipboard text. There's our date. So, yeehaw. All right, that's cool. Now that we've done that little bit of an enhancement, we can modify the event as well. And that other file we had open here. Checks to see if file name looks like a snippet. Oh, we're gonna have to also tweak that up a little bit. Son of a poop nugget. Let's change the name. Hello, Ayush. Oh, things are going well. I just made a... we don't have that actually in here, do we? Well, we'll test it out first, and then we can go ahead and tell the manager to reload the thing, and life will be good. What we're doing right here is, since we're trying to augment snippets to have custom variables, and to do that, we need to examine the actual snippet file in order to know that the user has just created or edited a snippet that may now have an enhancement that didn't before, or maybe it's a new snippet that has an enhancement, or maybe it used to have one and now it doesn't. In all of those cases, whenever you modify a snippet file manually, we need to be able to pick that up. And what we have an event handler for that, but it just says anytime anybody saves any Sublime snippet file anywhere, it flushes the snippet cache, even if it's not a packaged file, which doesn't actually make any sense. So what we're going to say is this. Res name is equal to is snippet view dot file name. And then we can say if res name reload snippet, I believe those things were called, that we added in here. How have you been, Ayush? Anytime a saved file represents a snippet resource. I went all the way over there to see how to call that and then didn't actually put it in place, didn't I? We can always return none on this. We can say if file name is not none and file name. That would be package path, wouldn't it? Packages path, pardon me. Actually, if we know that this only ever gets invoked from post save, it always has to have a file name, so we don't need to test that. If file name starts with packages path and file name ends with Alright, so if we did that, then that doesn't trigger as we would expect. Size down, guy. This file. Oh, I gotta reload that, sorry. Yeah, so that one counts, and that one counts. Now, here's the part I can never remember. Name, always put it in the wrong spot, don't I? Right. Are you getting people into the Sublime world? Do you have a blog? Do you have a sandwich board? That'll do it. Name len sublime dot pack. Oh, here. Let's change that to Sublime package path. And we're going to want to have a +1. That whole thing is going to be a format string. If we did that and reload the plugin, then that's packages user, new user, not special. And that one is new user special. And we can see when we reload this thing that, oh, it discarded all snippets but didn't say it loaded any. That's interesting. Oh, because just Discord is a great thing indeed. All right, I think that should be all we need for that. So if we quit and restart like that. So we saw this when it loaded, it discarded all snippets and added packages user new latex document. It didn't do anything with the other one. So if we clear that console, this is new to latex document. We don't like that, huh? Did I do that in the wrong spot? Huh? I did put that in the manager class, didn't I? Yes. Why you no like? We do have the manager in here already, right? Oh, we don't. Oh, well, that would explain some stuff then, I guess. That's the wrong place. Pardon me. That's over here. And yeah, it's totally there. Well, what the hell? Oh, maybe have I done that? Well, how do we bone that up? Oh, I know how we boned that up. I'm a fool. That actually calls for one of these. Oh, I don't actually have those here. Oh, no. Oh, I need to update this to have the appropriate magic stuff. Shoot. Oh, well. In any case, fresh start. So the new latex document discards it and adds it back. And this one does nothing because this isn't anything that it actually knows about. So it knows that that's not special in any way. But then $date. Oh, now it's added, and that takes it out, and then that discards it and it's no longer in. So that actually all works fantastically. Now here's something I'm a little, well, actually let's check that part in first. I apologize, everybody. I haven't been sleeping very great lately. Lots of things on the old mind, don't you know? Oh, hang on a second. Gotta do something real quick. I promised a friend. Yeah. Okay. So previously we had a simple event listener. Previously, we had a simple event listener listening for saves of any snippet file and causing an entire snippet cache refresh. Now that we have a snippet manager, we can clean that up. Clean that up a great deal by having a more focused reload of just being able to detect when a new snippet is created and when the content of the snippet All right, so that's kind of cool. Do we actually have a task for that? I don't think we did. Right, those don't have things, do they? Ugh, pardon me. We got here. Debug, turn on internal debug logging. Use details. listener. We can set up for our very next stream. And I think that is more or less the place where we're going to call it for this evening. We've gotten a fair bit of this done. As a matter of fact, you know what we can also do here? Let's go ahead and push this stuff up. So anybody that's actually interested in this stuff can totally see it. This is in my GitHub profile. I believe the bot, if it's paying attention, will ultimately respond to that text as I vamp, replying with the GitHub profile for me, which is, you know, github.com/modatnerd, I would imagine. I don't remember exactly how those links work. And apparently the bot has left us high and dry as well, which is an unfortunate turn of events. Or it just takes a really, really long time. In any case, what we're going to do now is I'm going to push this button. And I'm going to say thanks to each and every one of you who was watching this fine evening as we did some stuff here. Remember, anytime we're doing stuff here, if you have any questions about what we're doing, how to create your own packages, how to create your own plugins, what it is I'm actually doing, why I'm actually doing it, you want to create your own package, you want to learn about how this works, you got a question about Sublime Text and how it works, you want a recommendation on a package or any of that stuff, or you just want to say hi, that chatty area, it's entirely the place to do that. You can do that while we're live at any point. Don't worry about derailing the stream. You can also send those questions to me on Discord, on Twitter, in the comments of any of the videos on the channel, including this one. Remember, videos in this live series go unlisted, but they are in a playlist and they're automatically added. So you can follow along with our progress on this particular enhanced snippet package. With that, we're going to call it an evening for this one. We should be back next Monday. As far as I'm aware, nothing is going to be happening on Monday. Because this time I thought nothing was going to happen on Monday, and something came up at the last minute. Sometimes that's just inevitable, you know, but we get by. So, again, thanks everybody for watching. I am going to go create a trailer for the next video. And until then, I want you guys to please have a sublime week. All right? We'll see you in the next one.